Hey Hunters, Halo Zoo here, back in Google Drive for another D&D 5.5 test deal, or not test deal, class preview for Ranger. So yeah, we have our Ranger stuff. So this is my favorite class, and it's the other class, or other old class getting a full-on rework. I'm not just going to ignore that for now. Don't have time to mess with it. So let's go to progression to show how it works. So, of course, at first level, you get all your archetype stuff. So, first level, you start with your Ranger Conclave, Fighting Style Initiate, as all classes get the 3 fighting style features. Only Fighter got the second fighting style. That's what set it apart in fighting styles. Favored Foe and Uncanny are also back as the defaults. However, that is a different Favored Foe. It's not the one from Tasha's. And I also upgraded Canny a little bit, but that's mostly just a thing where the big change to it was you get an additional Canny at 7th level. You get Canny again. Up next, we have at 2nd level, we have Spellcasting and the new Predator Strike feature. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck is Predator Strike? Simple answer, Divine Smite for Ranger. Because it's ridiculous that Paladin, which is a class that's more intended to be tanky rather than the damage-dealing oriented Ranger, it's ridiculous that they get a feature like Divine Smite that's just extra damage and Ranger doesn't. So, in comes Predator Strike. Then, 3rd level, Primal Awareness works almost as it did before. You also get a new Conclave feature, as Ranger uses default archetype progression, which is 1st, 3rd, 6th, 10th, 14th, and 20th level. You get a feature. Fighter worked slightly different, but that's mostly because of how Fighter it isn't the same in how it progresses, so it ended up being slightly different for whatever reason. 4th level, ability score improvement, so you don't get anything. 5th level, you get extra attack as previously. Improved Favored Foe, which this is a thing I added on to sort of build up on how Favored Foe worked. Also, you get your 2nd level Primal Awareness spell, which has changed because I'll be blunt. I am staunchly against the fact that Beast Sense was the Primal Awareness spell they kept. Because, fun fact, in the UA that introduced the class feature variants for all the classes, including Ranger, yeah, they used to get 2 1st and 2nd level spells. They also had Detect Magic and Locate Plants and Animals, as well as Speak with Animals and Beast Sense, but then going to Tasha's, they removed 1 spell from each of those levels to make it where you only get 1 at every level. But for some ungodly reason, they kept Beast Sense, which, yeah, only Beastmaster Ranger could use it and not have it be just practically dead. That, like, unless your DM went above and beyond and went far out of their way to make that actually come up, you weren't using it. So changed it to Locate Plants and Animals because it's like, yeah, you might actually use that. And it's also a feature that it just works no matter what your archetype is. And it's usable on all rangers, not just one. Anyway, tirade over. 6th level, you get Conclave feature, fighting style adept. Nothing special. Wrong button. Then 7th level, you get roving and canny. That got moved just because 6th level was kind of stacked in this, so I moved roving down a level to kind of smooth out the progression a bit, and it kind of works as it did before. There are some tweaks made to it, but for the most part, it's about the same as it was before. Then you get your 2nd canny bonus, which is just like you get more languages and extra expertise. 8th level, ability score increase, so it doesn't matter. 9th level, greater favored foe, and the 3rd level Primal Awareness spell. Yeah, nothing too special. Another favored foe upgrade, which you will see that there are upgrades to it, and I know what that one is. But we'll see in a moment. 10th level, Conclave feature. 11th level, Nature's Veil and Tireless, which both got moved as well due to just fitting in the progression better. Nature's Veil, I think that's just about how it was before. Well, minus the fact that it's no longer uses based off proficiency bonus. I think it's just one use now. And I think it may also be short or long rest now. I don't remember off the top of my head. But you'll see that in a moment. And Tireless is Tireless, though. There is a modification to it. It's slight, but it's there. 12th level, another ability score increase. So we'll skip over that. 13th level, Vanish and Primal Awareness for 4th level. Vanish is actually working different. It has an upgrade to it to sort of reflect that, yeah, it's changed up a little bit to kind of make it unique in a way. 14th level, Conclave feature, Fighting Style Master. 15th level, Improved Favorite Foe, upgrades to a +2, and you'll see what that plus was for. And you also get True Favored Foe, which is another big upgrade. 17th level, you have Predator Wrath and your 5th level Primal Awareness spell, since that's when you get 5th level spells. And spell progression for Ranger is about the same, with some modifications you'll see in a bit. 18th level, you get Feral Senses and Huntmaster, which Feral Senses was a feature you got before, I'm pretty sure, but Huntmaster, that's an entirely new feature I added to just give something to that level that wasn't Feral Senses, because Feral Senses is kind of meh. And then 20th level, you get Foe Slayer and a Conclave feature. So that's your progression. It's changed up a little bit. That's the spell list. Core features. Let's see. HP is unchanged. Proficiencies. Only thing is I added acrobatics. Spell casting is there. You get the Druidic Focus. Okay. Real quick note on spells known, because it's going to be relevant to every other spellcaster in the game. Your spells known have increased. And more specifically, you will typically learn, when you get a new level spell, you'll typically learn 2 spells of that level. So the whole reason for this is to combat spell bloat, so you have more utility of each level and more versatility per level. So yeah, that's the goal of it. So you start knowing 3, then you get 4 at 3rd level, jump to 6 at 5th level, and it's basically every other time you learn spells, you learn 2 instead of 1. So at 2nd, 5th, 9th, 13th, and 17th, you learn an additional spell than you normally would, bringing the final total to 16 spells rather than 11 spells known. Just as a way to combat spell bloat, so otherwise, spellcasting is unchanged. Features, Ranger Conclave. Simple enough. Fighting style, you have the choice of archery, dueling, 2-weapon, defense, battlecaster for druid, blind fighting, brawler, superior technique, which I'm actually going to remove. That's not supposed to be there. Forgot to delete it. 'Cause you're not supposed to have superior technique as ranger or paladin. Brawler and thrown weapon. And it progresses as normal for fighting styles in 5.5. Favored foe. Okay, this is not the Tasha's feature because I hate the Tasha's feature. So, it's basically back to the way it worked in Ranger class feat variants. In that Unearthed Arcana, it gave you Hunter's Mark, and you had whiz uses per day. This has slightly changed, and also it removed concentration. Changes are free action without using a spell slot, so you still cast it with spell slots as a bonus action, but you can free action cast it with this feature. Also, all Hunter's Marks no longer require concentration. So if you ever do use a spell slot, for whatever reason, it doesn't require concentration. But, flip side, only one can be active at a time, and then the last thing is, hey, when you gain spellcasting, it doesn't count as spell known and can be cast using spell slots, and it spells it out there. Canny. Still learn 2 extra languages and get a skill expertise. Though there are 2 little things, which is A, your DM may allow you to learn Druidic / Thieves' Cant with Canny. However, that's an ask your DM thing where, depending on your ranger's origin, you might have access to that. And the other big change, at 7th level, you basically get a second Canny. Spellcasting works as it did before. Predator Strike. Okay, once per turn, whenever you hit a target with a weapon attack, you can expend a spell slot to deal extra physical damage equal to 1d8 plus d8 per slot level used. So basically 2d8 for first level, and then plus 1d8 if per level above first. However, if the target has Hunter's Mark on it, the d8s become d12s instead. So basically just a thing of I know I wanted Ranger to have a feature that was their version of Divine Smite to sort of make them better at what they're supposed to be doing. So here you go. You get a better... you get a Divine Smite equivalent. So keep in mind, however, there is also a change to Divine Smite and this feature that they don't count as part of the dice for crits, just to sort of prevent you from triggering it on a crit, and then it's like, oh, it rolls even more dice. And actually, change that to damage, so it's specifically not triggered on hit, so it doesn't add the dice double the dice on crit, just to prevent it from being too crazy and players from only using it on crits. In the dice replacement, basically a way to kind of give a Divine Smite-like upgrade in a way that made sense for Ranger and meant that it was just that little bit better, and decided on increasing the size instead of an extra dice because Hunter's Mark comes with one, and that's what made sense. Primal Awareness. Only change. Spell you get at 5th levels, locate plants and animals instead of Beast Sense. You still get to cast them once per day without a spell slot. Don't count as spells known. But you can also, of course, use normal spell slots to cast these. But you'll probably only use them once per day anyway, for the most part. So, shouldn't matter too much. 5th level, extra attack. Works as it did for Fighter. 5th level, improved favored foe. So, you gain +1 to attack rolls against creatures with Hunter's Mark on them. So, this is kind of the idea, is that you have Hunter's Mark. Other people can get it, but Hunter's Mark is better for you because you get, of course, Predator Strike, which is better if you have it on. Improved favored foe. You get a bonus to accuracy now with Hunter's Mark, and at 15th level, it becomes even better. 7th level, you have roving. Simple change. Base walking speed. The +5 to your base walking speed is applied to all movement speeds you have. And then you also get a climbing speed and swimming speed equal to your walking speed if you don't already have one. So basically, how this is supposed to work is if you already have a swimming speed, then you use that swimming speed. If you already have a climbing speed, you use that climbing speed. But that speed increases by 5 feet from this feature. If you don't have one or both, then you get the ones you don't have, and it's equal to your walking speed, and it's not affected by this increase. So, 9th level, greater favored foe. I had to sneeze there. Extra damage of your Hunter's Mark is D8 instead of D6. Simple, but effective. It's an upgrade. Nature's Veil. Once per day, you can use a bonus action to magically become invisible till the start of your next turn. Part of the change is to just cut down on those horrendous uses equal to your proficiency bonus that I personally despise on most classes. Because it's just like, just use a stat that's supposed to be important to them. For psionics, it's one thing, because it's like, it's supposed to be applied to just about any class, so yeah, they all work the same, so that's kind of cool, but in this case, nope, changed it. 11th level, you have Tireless. When you take a short or long rest, you gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. Simple enough, but the new thing is, whenever you spend a hit dice to regain HP during a short rest, you can replace the plus con with plus whiz to the HP regained. So instead of rolling D10 plus con, you roll D10 plus wisdom for the HP regained. Simple change, but it's just a neat little thing that, like, yeah, you care about wisdom, so here's a you care about wisdom buff. 13th level has Vanish. Can hide and disengage as a bonus action instead of a standard action. But whenever you hide as a standard action, you add plus whiz to the stealth check. Whenever you disengage as a standard action, you can move 10 feet as part of that action. So basically just like to kind of differentiate it from the other feature that does similar stuff, and actually all other features that do similar things, this one adds an upgrade to using it as a standard action that is just a simple thing of, yeah, it can fit what you're going for sometimes. 15th level, True Favored Foe. Your attacks against targets with your Hunter's Mark on them can crit on a roll 1 lower than normal. So usually 19 to 20 or 18 to 20 if you have something else giving you that. And those targets have -2 on saving throws against your spells and abilities. Basically, your Hunter's Mark is upgraded yet again. You're better at getting crits on them, and your spells are more effective against them and more likely to succeed. 17th level, Predator Wrath. Whenever you score a critical hit and use Predator Strike, the damage is automatically maxed. So if you're rolling 2d12, it becomes 24 damage. Could change that, but as of now, that's what you have at 17th level. 18th level is Feral Senses. Attacking targets you can't see doesn't impose disadvantage on the attack roll. Aware of all invisible creatures in 30 feet of you that are hidden from you while you aren't blinded and or deafened. If you have the blind fighting style, the range of your blind sight increases by 30 feet instead. So, yeah, the last part was just added on as like, there's a fighting style that gives us similar stuff, so we're just going to make that better once you get 18th level. 18th level, you also get Huntmaster. Once per day, when you take a short rest, you can regain spell slots of 3rd level or lower. Total level of spell slots recovered this way must be 1/3 your ranger level or lower. So you start with just 6 levels worth of spell slots. So you could regain 2 3rd level spells or 6 1st level spells, or I think you can't actually do that. I think you could, get all your 1st level spells back plus a 2nd level spell slot if you wanted to. That's Huntmaster. Simple enough. 20th level Foe Slayer, once per round, plus whiz to a weapon attack or damage roll of your choice. Simple enough. Don't need to explain that. It's what it was before, kind of. Though it also works on any enemy now. You don't need favored foe or favored enemy. So, alright. Let's see what the Ranger Conclaves are like. Hunter Conclave! Now, keep in mind this is subject to change, but currently, Hunter's Tricks is, so they get, at 1st level, Hunter's Tricks and Hunter's Prey. You know what? For the heck of it. Hunter's Superior Defense. Okay, now they all have Hunters. Hunter's Tricks and Hunter's Prey. Hunter's Tricks is a new feature that's just your extra spells thing. 3rd level, Hunter's Training. 6th level, Hunter's Defense. 10th, Hunter's Multi-Attack. 14th, Hunter's Superior Defense. 20th, Hunter's Mastery. Hunter's Tricks, basically you get 2 cantrips, one of which is automatically Druidcraft, but you also get your choice of Control Flames, Guidance, Gust, Inscribe Hedron, Mending, Message, Mold Earth, Shape Water, or Whispers of the World. Basically, every Druid spell that's not a combat spell, all the Druid utility cantrips, you get 2 of those of your choice. Well, Druidcraft plus one of your choice. Resistance also didn't make this list, but that's... yeah, I think there's 2 that don't make it, because Resistance and Spare the Dying I kind of felt were a bit good for this. But, 1st level, Hunter's Prey. Colossus Slayer. Big change to this. This has been nerfed to fall in line with the idea that abilities like Colossus Slayer were just very powerful, which, as much as I enjoy having them, when you're getting a lot of other extra damage sources, it can kind of get a bit silly. So with Colossus Slayer, it's now once per round when you hit a bloodied target with a weapon attack, which means basically below half health. But the die did increase to D10 rather than D8, so it's just a simple thing of, yeah, we're not going to give you a lot of crazy extra damage, but you will get some buffs to it. Giant Killer, after a larger enemy attacks you, reaction to make a weapon attack against them, as it was before. Horde Breaker, once per round when you make a weapon attack against a target, you can also attack another target in 5 feet of them if they're also in range/reach. Yeah, I'm fine with that, I guess. Combat Trickster. Once per round, when you hit a large or smaller creature with a weapon attack, you slide them 5 feet in the direction of your choice. In Combat Trickster, and you'll actually notice all of the ones that previously had 3 choices have 4. And then there's also 2 more choices that have 2. So yeah, Combat Trickster, basically inverted Giant Killer in terms of trigger. And also, all of these are once per round, though Giant Killer doesn't say. You do only have 1 reaction per round. Though, if you are Cavalier Fighter mixed with Hunter Ranger, then you actually do get 2 per round, but that's besides the point. 3rd level, Hunter's Training. You either have Marksman or Bladesman. Marksman, +1 extra damage with ranged weapon attacks. Bladesman, +1 to melee weapon attack rolls. Simple change, but it's effectively, and I'll fully admit, this is kind of like inverting the dueling and archery fighting styles. So Marksman gives half the benefit of dueling. Bladesman gives half the benefit of archery, but to the other weapon type. And of course, Bladesman is all melee weapons, not just when you're using single one hand, but that's just how it is. 6th level, Hunter's Defense, Escape the Horde, +Wiz AC against opportunity attacks. Multi-attack defense, whenever you're attacked by a creature, you gain +Wiz to all other attacks from that creature until end of turn. And it specifies this bonus stacks. So if you get attacked 3 times, the 3rd attack, you have double your Wisdom modifier to AC. Steel Will. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened, as was before pretty much. Iron Gut, the new one. Can't be poisoned, immune to non-magical sickness and disease, and have resistance to poison and necrotic damage. Yeah, it gives a lot of bonuses, but for the most part, they're mostly utility, though. It's one of those that in the right game, it can be very powerful. And that's kind of the idea. Like, all of these have their places. Though, for the most part, these 2 are the best with Escape the Horde and Multi-Attack Defense. Specifically, depending on what range you're using. But Steel Will and Iron Gut, when they come up in the right game, they can be the best. 10th level, Hunter's Multi-Attack. Pretty much work as they did before. except they just specify as a standard action you do X. So volley, ranged weapon attack against any number of targets in 10 feet of a point you can see in the weapon's range. Whirlwind, standard action, make a melee weapon attack against any number of targets of your choice within your reach. So this does work with reach weapons. If you get extended reach, it works with this. It's important later. 14th level, evasion. Whenever you make a dex save against damage, you only take half damage on a failure and none on a success. And I'm just going to highlight this because that's supposed to be highlighted. Stand against the tide. Whenever a melee attack misses you, you can have the attacker repeat the attack against another target of your choice in 5 feet of you, even if that new target isn't in the attacker's reach. I'm also going to specify new target because it just makes sense. Dog is barking. Hopefully you can't hear that. Uncanny Dodge. Whenever you're hit by an attack roll from a source you can see, you can use a reaction to take half damage from that attack, as it worked before. Sidestep, the new one, plus whiz AC against ranged attacks. This is affected by the dex cap. So basically, just added this because some of the others are better for melee attacks. And this one is like situational, but it's powerful if it comes up often enough. But, of course, if you're wearing medium armor, this is only a +2 or +3 still. But, hey, it's still a bonus against ranged attacks. 20th level, Hunter's Mastery. You either get Sniper or Blade Master. Sniper, double the range of all ranged weapons you wield. Their attacks ignore cover. And you get an additional +1 to damage rolls with ranged weapon attacks for +2 total. So yeah, also that stacking... So I'm actually going to specify if you have the marksman feature. Gotta love the formatting changes. And then Blade Master. Add 5 feet to your reach with melee weapon attacks. Treat all melee weapons as having the Brutal 1 property. And if it already has Brutal, then you increase it by 1 instead. And what Brutal means is basically if you roll a certain number or lower, then you re-roll the dice once using the new result. So this is actually nerfed from 4E, where Brutal was re-roll until you get that number higher than that number. So yeah, that was changed to be... That actually still might work, but the idea, it might change back to that, but the idea is that you only re-roll once right now. But basically this just adds +1 Brutal to all your melee weapon attacks. So you're more likely to do good damage. Next up, we have Beastmaster. So first level, Beast Magic, Primal Companion. Third level, Spellbond. 6th, Coordinated Attack. 10th, Storm of Claw and Fang. 14th, Beast Bulwark. 20th, Twin Souls. So, first level, Beast Magic. It just works like Primal Awareness, except you get this at first level, and that's a different list of spells. First level is Animal Friendship. 5th level is Bee Sense. Yeah, it was only good for you, so yeah, here you have it back now. 9th level, Conjure Animals. That is subject to change, by the way, but that's like, a part of me kind of wants to remove that, but at the same time, like, there's really nothing better to use. 13th, Dominate Beast. I was originally going to have the new spell Conjure Beast, but then I decided to remove it because I'm like, maybe they shouldn't have as much summoning stuff. But Conjure Animals stayed because there's just nothing better at 3rd level for them. 17th, you get Insect Plague. Another one like I'm not the happiest with, but once again, there's not much better. There could be a new spell that replaces it. Primal Companion. Works vaguely similar to how it did in Tasha's, except there are changes to these beasts. Specifically, the damage rolls now use your wisdom instead of proficiency bonus. Just a subtle nitpick change. I think that's the only change to them directly. And also, you no longer sacrifice attacks to it. And also some wording changes. You can use move actions and use its reaction on its own. Only standard action can take its dodge unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. If you're incapacitated, you can take any standard action. Then, it works pretty much the same. Just added wisdom bonus instead of proficiency bonus in certain places on stat block. And there's also the change to the removal of sacrificing attacks. But that's mostly just to kind of cut back on the whole make it do a bunch, and also make it where other abilities are also useful. 3rd level, you have Spellbond. Whenever you cast a spell on yourself that can affect other creatures, you now have it affect you and your Primal Beast instead of only you, regardless of distance. And you can cast spells with a range of self on your beast instead of you while it's in 30 feet of you. Once again, a simple feature, but it's kind of a neat one where it's like, oh yeah, when you cure wounds yourself, you actually can use it on both you and your beast. Or if you used Guardian of Nature, then you could actually use it on your beast instead of yourself. So, just a fun, nifty little feature. 6th level, coordinated attack. Whenever you or your Primal Beast attack a target for the first time each round, the other has +1 on their next attack roll against that same target before the end of your next turn, and your beast attacks now count as magical. So, yeah, another simple thing, but it's sort of a cool one where it's like, oh, you attack an enemy, and then it attacks an enemy with its attack, and then you make an attack against that same enemy again, and you both have +1 on the second and third attack rolls. Once again, it's a nifty feature that's sort of like, hey, here's the way to better coordinate with your beast and reward yourself for going all in on a single target, or trying to split up attacks and you say, hey, hit these guys. 10th level, Storm of Claw and Fang. Primal Beast can use standard action to make melee attack against any number of targets within its reach. Pretty much what it was before. Nothing too special except with coordinated attack. It now acts as kind of a multi-target, or you can make 3 attacks if you're dual wielding and mark 3 enemies, and then it has +1 to attacking those 3 with Storm of Claw and Fang. Coordinated attack, definitely a tactician's feature that I think a lot of players will like. Beast Bulwark at 14th level. While you and your Primal Beast can both see each other, you both reduce all damage taken by half your proficiency bonus. So, I believe it starts at yeah, just +2 at 14th level, but then it becomes +3 at 17th. So, yeah, just passive damage reduction, make you and your beast more resilient, but at every point counts with damage reduction. Because, yeah, it's just every little bit helps. 20th level, Twin Souls. So, you and your Primal Beast can share senses and communicate telepathically. Whenever only one of you would be healed by an effect, you can instead have it heal you both for the same amount. So, this includes healing potions, stuff like Cure Wounds, healing words cast on you, and quick note, this doesn't stack with Spellbond. Because it has to be only one of you healed. But then, also, while you and your Primal Beast can both see each other, you each have +1 to attack rolls and +2 to damage rolls. Because why not add more power while you're together? And it's 20th level, so who cares? Go crazy. Last but not least, in Ranger, we have Horizon Walker. So, first level, we have Horizon Step, Detect Portals, Horizon Spells. Third level, Planar Warrior. 6th, Ethereal Step, 1 use. 10th, Distant Strike. 14th, Spectral Defense, Planar Step, and Ethereal Step, 2nd use. And 20th level, Horizon Master. So, first level, Horizon Step, gain proficiency in Arcana, and your choice of Acrobatics or Athletics. Add an additional +5 feet to your base walking speed, and add your Wisdom modifier to the distance/height of your jumps. Just a little thing that's like, you're a bit faster, more mobile, and you get Arcana because, of course you do. First level, Detect Portals. As a bonus action, you can locate the nearest permanent portal within 1 mile of you, including the distance and direction to it. Complete a short or long rest before using again. But, here's an added thing. You don't expend this feature's use if there weren't portals in range. I'm gonna add, weren't any. There we go. That's better. So basically, if you whiff with it, you don't expend the use. You also have advantage on skill checks to determine what plane a portal may lead to, which, just a nifty and useful bonus that makes sense. So, first level, Horizon Spells. Okay, this is something extra. So basically, you start with the spellcasting feature unlocked. It still progresses as it did before, but you follow this to determine how many extra spell slots and how many extra spells known you get. You also learn cantrips. And these extra spells and cantrips learned are specifically from the Druid, Ranger, and Wizard spell lists. So the whole idea of this was to kind of bring back the idea that Rangers used to get arcane spells back in the day. This is kind of a homage to it that also is sort of like, yeah, you can actually grab some teleportation spells. And it even specifies, while it can be of any school from the Druid, Ranger, and Wizard spell lists, you typically will go for spells that add to your mobility and deal with teleportation. So Misty Step, for example, at 2nd level. And otherwise, this is just like, it expands on your spellcasting feature. You get an additional spell of every level, and get ultimately 10 extra spells learned from the Druid, including stuff from Druid or Wizard, if you want. So, just kind of a upgrade to the previous feature that rather than get specific spells you get better at spellcasting. Third level, you have Planar Warrior. So your weapon attacks can deal force damage in addition to their other types. And once per turn, you can have an attack roll that hits, deal plus 1d8 extra damage to conjured creatures, aberrations, and fiends. And you can use a bonus action to ignore the requirements for the extra damage. So basically, this has changed slightly to be, it's not just, oh, bonus action, choose a creature, deal extra damage to it. It's actually, by default, it's free once per turn, but it only works on conjured creatures, aberrations, and fiends. So basically like interplanar invaders. But you can now use the bonus action to temporarily ignore that requirement. So it's a tweak that's, once again, building on the flavor of the class in a way that kind of expands on what you can do in a fun way, but it's just a little buff, though. Well, not really buff, because I think previously it was more than once per turn, but it's changed. 6th level, Ethereal Step. As bonus action, cast Etherealness, not spell slot. Spell ends end of the current turn. Regain it with short or long rest, but at 14th level, you get an extra use. Kind of as it was before, plus the extra use. 10th level, Distant Strike. When you take the attack action, you can teleport up to 10 feet before or after each attack to an unoccupied space you can see. And if you attack at least 2 different enemies with the action, you can make 1 additional weapon attack against a 3rd creature. So, big change is that it's now before or after each attack you get to teleport. So, you still ultimately get 10 feet per attack, but it's before or after. Like, you could teleport 20 feet, like, after the first attack and before the second attack, if you wanted to. But it's still, it's just a subtle change to add to your options in a way that kind of makes sense. 14th level, Spectral Defense. When you take damage from an attack, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to all of that attack's damage on this turn. Yeah, it's basically evasion. 14th level, Planar Step. Once per week, so once you use it, you have to finish 7 long rests. You can cast Plane Shift without using a spell slot. As it was before, kinda. 20th level, Horizon Master. Basically, when you take a short rest, you regain the 1st, 2nd, 3rd level spell slot from Horizon spells. Simple but powerful. It's basically an upgraded Huntmaster, to where now you get 6 levels worth of spells, plus you basically get 12. Though half of that is with every short rest, the other half is once per day. So, yeah, definitely a powerful buff to your spellcasting shenanigans as Horizon Walker, which is kind of what I went for. So, last but not least, the spell list. So, real quickly, if there's an R in parentheses after the School of Magic, it's a ritual, though it doesn't matter to Ranger. If it has the sort of pinkish color, the sort of light red pink, that means it's a spell that's new in 5e, so it's from either Con/Dragon's Guide to Tarkir or Planeswalker's Guide to Ravnica, which are other homebrew projects I'm working on. If it's sort of in the light orange highlight, then it's a spell that's been eroded to Ranger with 5.5. So it's a base spell that got added to their list for whatever reason. And then the deeper light red is new in 5.5. So these are the 10 among the 10 new spells of that level that have been added to that class. So let's go ahead and look. So for the most part, I'm not going to go over too much in the like spells you already had. I'm going to go over the new ones, specifically the yellow and red spells. So first level, Thunderous Smite. Brought it in because it kind of made sense for them to have the other kind of elemental damage Smite at first level. It fit their arsenal, and also kind of wanted to break exclusivity on Thunderous Smite. Compelled Duel, also kind of a good spell for certain Ranger builds. Of course, it varies on the particular Ranger, but it's something that, like, it can be a neat thing if you want to build a more defensive Ranger. Also, quick note on Compelled Duel is that it's actually one of the spells getting eroded in 5.5. Compelled Duel is specifically losing concentration because concentration basically, it doesn't make the spell work like it should, in my opinion, and is just annoying. Then the new spells, Earth Spike and Lightning Strike, are just primal type spells I thought Ranger could use. Earth Spike is a big single target saving throw spell. Lightning Strike is literally just a single use version of Call Lightning's Lightning Strikes. That's literally what it is. So yeah, that's a fun new spell. Second level spells, we've added Branding Smite, once again to kind of give them more Smite utility, because yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of spell exclusivity. Fine Steed, because it's a spell that kind of makes sense for Ranger, and yeah, it's just a fun and useful spell that's, you know, it's kind of sad that only Paladins got it, and yeah, here's a thing that Rangers can do, and it makes sense that you can summon animals, so why not get Fine Steed? Spider Climb, yeah, why not give Ranger more mobility spells? They got Jump and Long Strider, why not give them Spider Climb as well? Then the new spells, Conjure Critters. This is literally just a weaker, like, summon weaker creatures than Conjure Animals does. As a spell, let's just, like, summon little critters. That's all it is, so it's just a fun little spell that's like, hey, here's a spell that lets you summon a bunch of little guys for fun, because why not? Earth Piercer Arrow. That was a new spell specifically made for Ranger, which is just a new second level ranged weapon augment spell that, yeah, it's, you shoot an arrow in a piercing line. Also, it's a new standard action spell as well, mostly to just make it where Conjure, Barrage, and Volley aren't the only two like that. And it's also just some extra utility and options for the ranged weapon Rangers to actually have a spell that's not absolute garbage in second level, because second level is probably my least favorite, or second worst, or yeah, looking at it, I think I'd say it's the worst in terms of default spells. Poison Strike. Forgot to close parentheses. Yeah, it's just a new poison smite spell, basically. It's not on Paladin, though. But, yeah, it's a dot smite, like Searing Smite, but poison. That's kind of what it is. And then Sweeping Smite. I'll admit this was kind of like the Paladin's equivalent to Earth Piercer Arrow / Conjure Barrage and Volley. But at second level. So, yeah, you just spin around the big strike and ended up also giving it to Ranger because, yeah, Ranger has a big bias towards ranged weapons, so that was added for melee weapons to kind of give it, yeah, you can also use melee weapons. Let's head over to third level. Blinding Smite. Yeah. That's a spell that's coming over to Ranger, because why not give him more smitey type spells? Arcing Smite. Once again, this is kind of for Paladin, but ended up going to Ranger too because it fit. It's another like melee version of Conjure Barrage, except it's lightning, and lightning's arcing from your melee weapon strike. Choking Brambles. This is basically an upgrade to Entangle, which is an entangle that murders people. Yep, simple as that. It's and I'd actually say it's literally Ensnaring Strike and Entangle rolled up into one spell. Partly for Druid, but ended up going to Ranger as well, because why not? Cold Snap. Okay, this spell is literally just the answer to how do I give cold damage a third level spell that's on par with Fireball and Lightning Bolts, and it's going to Ranger because I wanted to add a bit more spellcastery options to them that also add to their utility. And this is just a big freeze that also deals a lot of damage. Thorn Spray. Not gonna lie, this is kind of redundant with Conjure Barrage, but it can be used by melee rangers a bit better, and is more for Druid, but it's just a piercing damage cone to shred targets with, and it's ally friendly. But yeah. Mostly for Druid, but it got put on Ranger. Just to kind of add some stuff. And plus, you know, why not give them more, like, plant magic stuff to go with Choking Brambles and Spike Growth and Entangle. Then, fourth level, Banishment. Yeah, you're like one of the only classes that didn't get banishment, so you have it now. Conjure Minor Elementals, mostly here because you got Summon Elemental in Tasha's, so yeah, of course I'm going to let you conjure Minor Elementals now. It makes sense. Find Greater Steed, mostly here because I decided to add Find Steed, so why wouldn't you get the upgraded version of that? Giant Insect. Yeah, just casually upgrade an insect and go with your sort of animal bond magic type stuff that you have. So it's definitely a cool thing. Staggering Smites, just adding some more crossover between the Smite spells for melee rangers. And this can also be used by ranged ones as well a bit. And just gives a bit more Smite utility to them. Conjure Beast, literally just a spell I made to conjure beasts that are bigger than what conjure animals can summon. It's basically the conjure elemental to conjure animals, conjure minor elementals. Elemental Smite, new Smite spell designed for one of the new classes, or actually two of the new classes. That's just like, it's basically Chromatic Orb, but a Smite. And it's also with melee or ranged, not just melee, so yeah, it's a useful spell. It adds to your utility and the ability to deal damage. 5th level, Awaken, crossover with Druid, kind of build into the plant magic and the summoning angle you can get. Banishing Smite, part of the Smite crossover. And I misspelled that. But yeah, so you get Banishing Smite now as part of the crossover, and it's just a spell that's good utility, especially on Horizon Walker because it just fits. Conjure Elemental, once again, because you got Summon Elemental, decided to give you the other elemental summoning spells. Insect Plague, once again, to go with the Master of Beasts type stuff you get. Reincarnate is kind of here for fun. Paladin gets Raised Dead anyway, so why not give Rangers the Druid Raised Dead? Skill Empowerment, partially here because you got Enhance abilities, so yeah, you get Skill Empowerment too, because why not? And then Summon Draconic Spirit, because it fits the Drake Warden Ranger when that's coming. Not entirely sure when it will. But also, it's a spell Druids got, so why not give it to Rangers too? And build into the, beast-type summoning stuff. So, yeah, that has been the Ranger class update in 5.5. So, hope you enjoyed this, and if you want to look at this stuff yourself as it is shared, you can go down to the Sub to Server, linked below, because I put stuff in my homebrew corner there. So without further ado, see y'all next time. Halo Zoo, out.